Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick.
And I'm Justin.
How you doing, dude?
I'm doing well.
Excellent. So this is the third and final what to buy from a certain faction video that we're doing relating to the three factions of X-Wing.
Because there are no more.
There are no more yet. I don't think there ever will be more, but it might be a thing eventually. I mean, the game is getting that big. Who knows?
Maybe one day.
We're going to take a look at Scum today. So this video is going to detail a few ships that are really good, high-value ships that give you lots of different play value for casual play and competitive play that new players can look at getting if they're looking at getting into the faction.
So first of all, with Scum, don't buy a core set.
No, don't buy a core set. Unless you've got to buy it for the Asteroids and you really want those templates. But once again, same as I said in the Rebel video, get the core sets if it's on sale. I have picked up one for $20 once because it was damaged in a shop. There was a little dent in the side of the box, so they had to reduce it. I'm not going to complain. I got a few interesting cards in there. But unless you're playing Imperial, the core sets aren't really that high value.
And anyway, you're a Scum player.
I am a Scum player, so none of the ships in it actually apply to me at all.
Yeah, and you want to be a bounty hunter Scum player.
You don't need X-Wings and TIE fighters. Nobody wants them.
You don't even need templates. You can steal other people's templates.
That's right, and dice and all that kind of stuff. I would recommend you don't do that, guys. No. But if you can source templates and dice and all that kind of stuff outside the game, which can be done, do it. The tricky thing is Asteroids, because you have to use the proper cardboard Asteroids. So unless you have a friend that can lend them to you or you find somewhere you can buy them aftermarket, unfortunately the core set's unavoidable, but even so, I only do it when it's on sale. But before we move on to the actual ships for Scum that we should look at, I just want to give a quick honourable mention to a few packs. Most Wanted, the Houndstooth and the IG 2000. Now, Most Wanted was originally the Scum core set.
Yeah.
Basically, without the tokens and dice or whatever. But it gave you two different ships, the Z95 and the Y-Wing, and all the relevant Scum cards to take your Rebel ships and turn them into Scum ships, and also cards for the Hawk and the Fire Spray. So you got basically ways to adapt 4 existing game ships. And the reason this is an honourable mention and not on this list properly is because those 4 ships are not particularly exciting. They're not really that competitive anymore, unfortunately. They've got a few cool builds, but in terms of design space, I think there are more exciting ships, even for casual players, than what's offered in the Most Wanted pack. It is a bit sad. There are some really cool cards in this. There's K4 Security Droid, Outlaw Tech, a bunch of really cool listed cards. But beyond that, it doesn't really offer a lot of great value for the Scum faction at this point in time. I will say, though, you do get cards for 4 different ships.
Yeah.
And if you as a player have interest in playing any of these ships, just get it. Because it's really cool. I personally love Boba Fett. And this is how you get Boba Fett. You buy the Most Wanted pack. I think the Y-Wings are a lot of fun to play. And you get the Y-Wing cards out of this pack as well. But beyond that, for really like splashy, interesting titled lists, for competitive stuff, this doesn't really offer a lot, unfortunately. The Houndstooth is in a very similar boat. You get some great upgrade cards with it, most notably the engine upgrades. But unfortunately, the pilots aren't super competitive. Bosk is cool. A lot of people swear by Bosk. You load them up with upgrades and you get that double damage happening thing with the crit and all that kind of stuff. It also comes with the Trandoshan Slaver, which I quite love. I quite like Greedo Boba Fett Dengar build. I think that's a lot of fun. And maybe that build will have a bit more interest when we have cards like Maul and other new cards coming along. I think the Trandoshan Slaver is always going to have something to offer. But in terms of high tier play, there's not a lot going on there.
Well, it does also come with Lone Wolf, and that is an important card.
Yeah, Lone Wolf was really cool. If you want to put that on Dengar and that kind of thing. But as a rule, when I'm talking about these packs and talking about value in these packs, I don't say buy a pack for a card.
No, it's not worth it.
A couple of really cool cards in this pack, but overall the ship doesn't give you a lot of great options right now. And I do stress right now because these ships do have renewed relevancy every now and then as the meta evolves. And the IG-2000 is a great ship. No doubt about it. Doesn't come with a great bunch of upgrade cards, but the ship itself is very powerful. You get 2 of them. You, of course, use the IG-2000 title. and you do that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, it loses a lot of value when you only have one.
Yeah, you really do need 2 for it to work, don't you?
And even at that point, you need cards from other packs to make that work.
Oh, okay.
If you want to fly the Nuts IG2000 list, you need Fire Control Systems, Crackshot, Glitterstim, cards like that don't come in the pack. Or Push to Limits Advanced Sensors, the variant that I like, again, does not come in this pack. And you need to buy 2 of them, and even at that point, you still need to buy more stuff.
Yeah.
The ship is fantastic. There's no doubt about that. But it's not what I'd recommend for a new player who wants a good value pack right out of the box.
Okay.
Let's actually move on to the single ships themselves. We're starting off with the Protectorate Starfighter, also known as the Fang Fighter, because it looks like it has fangs on it.
Nasty, big, pointed teeth.
Indeed. Now, I put this at the start of the list because I think it's probably the least exciting out of the ships I'm talking about here, simply because it doesn't come with a lot of upgrade cards. But it is worth noting that those upgrade cards are very high value.
So, it does only come with 2 cards, Fearlessness and Concord Dawn Protector.
Yeah, and look, Concord Dawn Protector is a ship-specific card, and that's not super exciting, but it is a very powerful title which goes on this ship. Fearlessness is a very, very fun card. It's a good card, I think, for new players because it's splashy, it rewards you for flying well, and putting Fearlessness on a ship really gives you a lot of interesting design space. It changes the way a ship fundamentally functions because it wants to get this thing procking. And it's great for a new player to either do really well with it or do really badly with it because it's a great learning experience either way, if that makes any sense. I love this card on Boba Fett. I'm not going to lie. I'm completely biased. It's not a great high tier build, but it's a lot of fun nonetheless. And it goes great on the Protectorate Starfighter as well. Obviously, that's what it's designed to do. Both of these cards together makes a good, fun, sort of ace-ish build, even on the generics. They very high maneuverable ship with these abilities. Rewards you for flying aggressively and flying well. And I think that's great for particularly Scum players, or rather new Scum players, because we don't really have aces on the faction apart from the Protectorate Starfighter. And it's good to learn how to fly with aces. And I said this when we made our Imperial video. I said, it's great to get the TIE Aggressor because you get a turreted ship, something that the Imperials don't really have. Because once you learn how to fly with a turreted ship, you learn how to fly against turreted ships. Same with Scum. We don't get many aces. We only really have this one. If you learn how to fly an ace, it'll help you better understand how to fly against aces. And a lot of the time, you have to fly against aces with non-aces, with big ships, with stuff like that. And this will help you learn that. Fenn Rau is without a doubt a very great high-tier pilot. PS9, 28 points EPT, rolls 1 extra dice on offense and defense while at range 1. It is a powerhouse card.
Yeah.
You can just put on Concord Dawn Protector and Fearlessness on that, and he's very, very scary. Now, I will say that this ship loves auto thrusters, so if you want to get this ship, I would consider the Star Viper as well. And the Star Viper means you want to look at the fixed pack as well. But all in all, it's still a very fun ship. I've seen a lot of people use Stealth Device instead of auto thrusters, and that's still a lot of fun. Stealth Device comes in a lot of different ships. But if you don't want to go down that route, you can use generics and use a much lighter build. A generic with just Concord Dawn Protector, for example, Zealous Recruit, 21 points. It's not a bad build for 21 points. I know a lot of people swear by the Rookie Pilot on the Rebel faction. I'm not a big fan of that, particularly because of Zealous Recruit with Concord Dawn Protector, I think is a much stronger build.
Yeah, it does seem it, doesn't it?
Yeah, the stats are all better. It doesn't have as good a hit point threshold as the X-Wing, but it doesn't matter. And at the end of the day, you're flying a ship that actively wants to fly at your opponent's ship. And I think it's very healthy for the game that have ships that want to advance the board state. Actively, that's part of, you are rewarded for flying at your opponent and shooting them. A lot of ships are rewarded for flying around and using turrets or bombs or whatever. And the Protectorate Starfighter is just great for the game overall. It's not necessarily always super high tier in terms of the way it performs, But it's a great fun ship, and it'd be a great ship for a new pilot to get into and learn how to fly for better or for worse.
Next, we have the Punishing One. Now, this is probably going to have
Yes.
some keyboard warriors angry, but...
I can hear them lighting their torches and sharpening their pitchforks saying, no, don't talk about Jump Masters. We don't want new players playing Jump Masters.
But the fact is, it's still a good ship.
It's still a good ship. It offers a lot out of the pack, and post-nerf, it's just not that terrifying anymore.
Yeah.
It's still making its way into a lot of tournaments. It's still performing well in top 16s, but it's nowhere near where it used to be. It's nowhere near being the most used ship by a country mile. I think in the Oz Nationals, it outstripped the Oz Attack by like 10 or something stupid like that. And now it appears as one-offs here and there. Dengar's still usable, the Contracted Scout's still usable, and those are still interesting builds, but you don't spam them with a tiny mind link. You don't use heaps of them anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. And looking at what else you get in the pack, you get Manaru. She's been nerfed pretty heavily, but she is still usable. Yeah. Basically, she passes off all her tokens at the start of the combat phase to a friendly ship. Now it only happens at range 1, which is very, very limiting, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's blue target locks, evades, and focus, and currently there's no good way of her getting evades. There actually is a way of her getting evades, just so you know, Justin, and that is to put IG-88D on her and run it alongside IG-88C and also give her engine upgrade, so she boosts and gets a free evade off the boost because of IG-88C's ability.
Huh.
It's not that competitive, but you can do it.
Yeah.
You can do it. And Teltravura. It actually is worth noting that Teltravura and Dengar won the last Worlds. Now, that was before the nerf, so they were able to put on torpedoes and that kind of stuff. But both of these pilots are still pretty usable with those kind of builds. Teltravura loves his droids, so maybe he's not so great anymore. But Dengar is still a totally usable pilot, which probably goes to show how badly the nerf was needed.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is it's still getting flown, it's still getting used, and it's still effective, means it must have been way too powerful before, if that's the case. And also the cards you get in the pack. You get plasma torpedoes, fantastic. Rage isn't super exciting or powerful, but it is interesting. There are good build-arounds, and it's a lot of fun. Overclocked aggro mech, again, a great card. We get the Painbot, he's cool. Gonk is pretty useless, but he's fun to have, and maybe he'll have good builds in the future. Yeah. Boba Fett's very exciting. I like doing build-arounds with Boba Fett. Dengar is probably Scum's best crew, without a doubt. A tiny mind link, probably not so great post-FAQ, but it's still, you still get the 2 copies, and you can still use it.
It's still usable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Feedback arrays are fantastic illicit. 2 copies of guidance chips.
That's good.
Absolutely. And the Punishing One title, of course, which is just the ship-specific card, makes the ship with certain builds very playable. And I just think it's a great thing overall.
Yeah.
If you want to build Bump Masters, you're going to have to get your Intel Agent from a different pack. That's fine. But Dengar's perfectly usable as is. There are a lot of different builds you can do with Dengar to great effect. Lone Wolf and Recon Spec is a favourite of many people. And it's just a good competitive ship overall. It badly needed the nerf that it got. It got hit pretty hard, but the fact of the matter is it's still a playable ship. Yeah. It's very competitive. The dial's still really good.
Even though that you're getting these extra cards that the ship can't use.
It can't take, exactly.
If you're still going to be buying a couple of other ships, they're still perfectly fine for them.
Absolutely, and you have to. I mean, you can't fly this alone. So, still a great ship. Still worth looking at. People in the comments, please don't get too angry at me for suggesting this.
We also have the Skoog H6 Bomber.
Okay, now this is getting into the really good Scum ships now.
Yeah, the Skoog is just good.
The Skoog is super explosive, still really worth buying if you are playing Rebels, but the ship is really, really powerful on Scum too. Obviously, you have access to more pilots on Scum. It is in a top tier list with Dengar. I'm not surprised by that one little bit.
No.
The upgrade cards it comes with are all solid, nothing too crazy and explosive, but on average, all in all, it's a very, very high-powered pack. The bomblet generator is so good on so many ships, including this ship we're looking at right now. There's not much to say. It's just a really good ship overall. It's in a lot of very high-tier lists. It's good as a 1-of, it's good as a 3-of. It's kind of replacing what Jump Masters used to be, except it's probably not as pushed and broken as the Jump Masters. It's not quite as efficient.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people disagree with that, and look, feel free to say so if you disagree with that. But the fact of the matter is the dial isn't quite there. It's not a big ship, so it doesn't have as much reach. But it is still a really solid ship. And because the Jumpmaster took the hit with all those upgrade slots, having all those upgrade slots on a generic ship on a 3 of is now more valuable overall on other ships. I mean, going through the pilots, there isn't really a pilot here that's not usable. Captain Nim on either Rebel or Scum. I mean, we're looking at Scum today, obviously, but both of them are awesome. Soul Sigza, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it's still a perfectly playable card. The Lock Revenant with the EPT is a very popular choice. It's the one you fly 3 of because he has an EPT.
Yeah.
It's a platform that can take missiles and torpedoes and turrets and crew and bombs and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very, very versatile.
Okay.
And it's just great overall. It's definitely something worth looking at. If you're a Scum player, I'd say definitely pick at least one up. If you're a Rebel player, probably still pick one up.
Yeah.
It's just a great ship overall, and I strongly recommend this one.
Finally, for the singles, we have the Shadowcaster.
And yeah, look, in terms of raw build potential, shenanigans, ship efficiency, explosiveness, this is my one recommendation for the Scum faction.
Yeah.
This ship is so much fun to fly with, so frustrating to fly against.
I agree on that. I haven't enjoyed flying against it.
Now, to be fair, you've flown small Imperial ships, which just eats them for dinner, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It definitely has better counters. I mean, it's the kind of ship that if it just gets focus fired, it just dies. But the amount of raw shenanigans it has, there is use for all of its pilots. The Shadowport Hunter generic is probably the least playable.
Well, I personally like the fact that it's got a Sarge Ventress.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Ketsu and Sabine are still very playable, but a Sarge Ventress, and even the meta shows, she is basically the one pilot that consistently gets into top tier lists and consistently makes top 16s. It's no coincidence that I play her. I don't play her because I'm a meta player and I must only play meta things. I play her because she's good. She's consistent. She's always working. It's very easy to get her ability working, and particularly for new players. I look at things like Ketsu Onyo, which is very difficult to get those. It's very difficult to get the things on her card working. You must get the auxiliary firing arc and the primary arc on one ship at the start of combat, so they can either be sort of in between, sitting right there, or they have overlapping and they're right in front, for example, and then that ship gets a tractor token. But you've got to get both arcs overlapping. Asarus just says, start a combat phase, anything range 1 to 2 inside the auxiliary firing arc gets a stress token. Now, stress tokens are far less powerful, granted, but it is so much easier to get that working. Stress tokens are always super relevant. Sometimes tractor tokens are useless. They're often not, but sometimes they are. And a Sarge Ventress is great. A lot of people I know swear by putting her with Lats Razzie, which when she's defending, she can remove a stress from your ship to give herself another evade. And it combos naturally with her ability. Yeah. I don't do that because I just like a Sarge Ventress without that. Okay. I just like her dumping stress and just calling it a day because I think that's great control. It is great control, frankly. And just moving on to the cards, we get a copy of Veteran Instincts. This is the only Scum pack, unless you count the Fire Spray as a Scum pack, which I pretty much do, that gives you Veteran Instincts. So, for that reason, this is very usable. We get 2 copies of Black Market Slicer Tools.
That's an important card.
It is. It's a fairly niche card in modern lists, but it's very good and very important on several builds, and it's the only pack you get it in. IG-88D is a very, very fun card. It gives any ship you have with a crew slot the ability of a friendly IG-88 on his ship. Now, I know you react like that. There's nothing super explosive. There's no crazy combos. There are some cool ones, granted, but there's nothing like super explosive that just makes this go off the chain. However, every single ship that comes out from this point on the Scum faction with a crew slot, it gets this looked at.
Yeah.
Because, okay, is this the ship that's going to make IG-88D explode? And it hasn't quite got there yet, but it could very easily very soon. We'll see how that works. Ketsu Onyo, if you have a ship in range 1 to 2, at the end of their turn, they don't remove their tractor token. Ooh. It's a lot of fun, not just for the Shadowcaster, good for other ships as well. Lats Razzie, I mentioned before. Reach Cargo Shoot drops a debris cloud, which is quite fun. It's good to have a copy of Countermeasures. Gyroscopic Targeting gives you that free movement of the arc. It's a ship-specific card. Same with Shadowcaster title. Yep. And you get a couple of copies of Tactical Jammer. yeah, it's an okay card, but it's a reprint on the Scum faction that they didn't previously have.
Okay.
It means that their ship can obstruct shots. That's it. Pure and simple. Nothing too crazy, but it's an interesting card. But overall, just a super high-powered explosive ship.
Yeah.
A lot of cool cards, a lot of cool pilots. One in particular that's hitting top-tier lists quite consistently. And as far as single ships go, this is my number one recommendation. You are going to have a great time with this. It's a learning experience. Take your time with it. Experiment with the builds that you enjoy. I guarantee you this ship will give you a lot of love if you put the time into making it good.
Yeah. Well, also the fact that you can have 2 elicits.
Oh my. The variations there. My personal favourite build is 2 glitter stims. That's how I like to use it. I like to just abuse that. Put Dengar on the ship, so I just bury myself under stress. I don't care. Glitter stim, rerolls, whatever. I've already got it built into the ship, so I don't care. That's how I do it. I love Asajj Ventress. A very, very usable ship and going to be relevant for a while, I dare say. I can't see this getting beaten out by the meta anytime soon.
We've got one pack that's really, really good, and it's Guns for Hire.
Yep, without question, Guns for Hire is a super explosive pack. So Guns for Hire came out a bit over a month ago, and like most things that are recent in X-Wing, it's just super high-powered. Power creep is a slight issue in this game. It's not a super big issue in my opinion, but nevertheless, Guns for Hire, the most recent Ace pack, is definitely worth looking at. If you have any remote interest in either of these ships, just get it. It's super powerful. It makes both ships super relevant in today's meta.
I almost consider getting 2.
I got 2.
Yeah.
I got 2 because I like to fly the Kirax's 4 of. When this was first released, I bought 2 of them, and I fly a 4 of Kirax list with the Vaxi title, and I'm super happy with it. I can absolutely 100% recommend it.
Could almost do 4 Star Vipers as well.
You can get 4 of the Black Sun Assassin because they're 28 points, and then you put this on, it's 25, and then you use the EPT with a free EPT like Trick Shot.
Yeah.
It's, I think 4 Vaxi is just going to be more consistent because you can stack on lots of upgrades for free.
Yeah.
I don't think the 4 of Star Viper build is really that worth it, but hey, I can do it because I happen to have 2 of this pack anyway.
And Vectors, Thrusters, and Stealth Device.
Oh, some great upgrades.
Wow, there's really good upgrades in this.
Yeah, Pulse Ray Shield is relevant on the Kirax fighter. It wasn't relevant in its original release. Harpoon Missiles becoming a big favourite amongst Ordnance players. Ion Discharge, it hasn't really found its place in the meta right now. But there are some build arounds that we have to experiment with, and I think on the channel it's something we have to talk about because Ion Discharges is a very interesting card. Once again, whenever we're talking about ace packs, I tend to recommend ones that give you interesting builds out of the pack. And look, Black Sun Aces, Victor Hell, Captain Justero, Thweek, these are all relevant pirates. These are all relevant pilots. And
that are also pirates.
Sort of pirates. Even Dallin Oberos and the Black Sun Assassins. In fact, every pilot in this pack is actually playable.
Yeah.
Once again, it's recent. It was designed to react to this current meta that we're currently in. Therefore, everything right now is going to be relevant. And I think in a year's time or so, most of this is still going to be relevant. I think the Black Sun Aces, I think like Dallin Oberos and the Black Sun Assassin, they're all going to be still relevant cards. But overall, you still get a lot of value. And if you have interest in flying either of these 2 ships, just get it. If you enjoy it, buy the single copies of these ships. Especially the Star Viper because you get auto thrusters in it.
Yes.
So if you buy this and you want to fly 2 Star Vipers, just buy another Star Viper. And then you get Guri. Oh, Guri's good. And if you want to fly 2 Black Sun Assassins, you already get both pilot cards in this pack.
Yeah.
It is a classic thing that FFG do when they do fixed pack is they give you a pilot skill 5 generic with an EPT, and they cost it aggressively.
Yeah.
It cost 2 points less than Guri, which is the same pilot skill.
Okay.
Yes. That does not make Guri unplayable. Guri is still amazing, but it gives it a great generic option. You don't fly the old generics. They're worthless. They are overcosted and not competitive enough.
Yeah.
But any of these cards in Guri are all fantastic.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, it's just a great pack overall. You get 2 really good competitive ships. You get a lot of different squad point builds. So they make a lot of good filler builds for stuff that you might already have.
Okay.
The other things that we recommended with this, the Shadowcaster and that, you can fly a Shadowcaster and 1 of each of these ships. That's a build right there.
Thweek is so funny.
Yeah, Thweek is an example of something which, oddly enough, I'm seeing a lot of. And I know a lot of people disagree and say Thweek's really good, borderline broken. I just think Thweek's too swingy for good, consistent tournament play.
Yeah.
It's great that he can take the pilot skill level, but he's always the same. He can never beat out pilot skill. And pilot ability is great, but without the APT, it's hard to capitalise on it. I know he can do the whole advanced sensors, barrel roll, all that kind of stuff, but unless he has particular pilot abilities, that's just often quite bad, unfortunately.
Yeah.
However, I will say that Thweek is always, at the very least, the same highest pilot skill as your opponent.
Yeah.
And if your opponent happens to be flying generics that are all lower pilot skill, then he's just beating them out anyway, and that's just good value. But remember, he does cost the same as the Black Sun Assassin, who is one pilot skill higher and has an APT slot.
Oh, okay.
In my personal opinion, I just prefer the Black Sun Assassin. I've flown Thweek before. In fact, there's a video of me flying Thweek on this very channel. But that was for fun. I fully admit that I was not going for a competitive build there. I was going for something that I thought looked fun, would have a lot of value in that casual tournament.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's a card that people love, and you may love it too. For that reason, it's definitely worth looking at.
Yeah.
And this pack overall is just super powerful, and I strongly, strongly recommend it. And that's it for the Scum faction. It's a shame because we just had the Kimagila released, and I had a look over this before we made this video, and I just don't think it's there.
Yeah, there's good cards, but you don't want to be buying
There's a lot
cards.
there's a lot of bad cards in it too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And the ship itself was really cool. I like the idea of Bullseye. I think the pilot abilities are going to work well with some builds, but it's just not super explosive. It doesn't feel like it's quite getting there amongst everything else coming out in Wave 12-13. If you're going to spend $20 US on a new small ship, get the Skoog Bomber, because there's way more exciting stuff you can do with a Skoog Bomber over a Kimagila. Get it after the Skoog Bomber if you already have it. That's my advice. But ultimately, even if you have a Skoog Bomber, I'd just say buy another one because it's just that good. And overall, I hope these videos have been very useful for you new players out there.
If we've got anyone to buy any new ships, let us know, and let us know what builds you've made with those ships as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And once again, I repeat this is very much our opinions based on what we know about the game. If you disagree with us in any way, say so in the comments. Say, oh, I don't think this ship really does work as well as you think it does, or I think you should have included this ship. Say so in the comments. If you make a good case, I'll pin it at the top of the post so people can see that as well. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, like our Facebook page, and we'll catch you later.
Bye!